Tom, when I started the show today, I said not to worry, despite the fact that apparently the end of the world may be at hand. I read a headline that said Russian warships, this is true,
Yes,
arrive
yes,
in Cuba, and I
yeah,
saw the picture. One of those ships is a nuclear submarine,
right.
and obviously, if they're in Cuba, they're like what, a stone's throw from Key West, Florida. I mean,
Yeah, you can. People have swum it. Yeah,
yeah. Do we take this? What sort of a sign is this?
I think that the Pentagon nailed it. They were just perfect. They said this is the type of drill that goes on all the time. We're not worried about this. This represents no threat to the United States. None of these ships have nuclear arms on them. That's the take from the Pentagon. I'll take their word for it. Is it saber rattling? Yes. Is it Russia misbehaving? Of course. You know, the United States just made sure that some $50 billion that were seized in Russian assets are going to be used to help Ukraine. So, yeah, anything they can do to say thanks a lot, guys, like sending ships into Cuba just offshore, yeah, they'll do it. But I really do think that the Pentagon has
Okay.
this under control and they're not worried about it. And frankly, I don't think we should be. But we should be very worried about the war in Ukraine because it could get out of hand in a second. We should be continuing to be concerned very much so about the situation after the horrific terrorist attack by Hamas. The ensuing violence is really serious, and everybody should be working hard to try to get to a ceasefire there as well.
I will mention one other thing with respect to Russia, and you're right about saber rattling. I completely get that. Russia today also announced that Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich, who's been
Yeah.
detained there for more than a year on
Yes.
spying charges, is actually going to stand trial.
Well,
He's
of
being
course.
accused of spying for the
And
CIA.
and I can assure you, it's going to be as fair a trial as the Russian legal system is capable of
Yeah.
providing. So we should all rest assured with that.
Okay. Let's move on from that and talk about what's going on in our own backyard. First of all, I don't understand the situation in Quebec City, but I want to just run this by you. So tell me if I'm right. So the CAC says it wants to build a highway. Experts say that's a bad idea. So the government commissions a report, which also says it's a bad idea. So at that point, the government acknowledges it's a bad idea, right? No, wrong. It commissions another report, which again says it's a bad idea. So what does the government do? It goes ahead anyway. Is that basically it?
That's you get an A minus for that, but it's actually worse than that because the CAC got elected in 2018 promising this famous third link, which was going to be a new bridge, later morphed into a bridge tunnel, 2 tubes, 3 tubes, who knows. They ragged that puck right up until the 2022 election. They were so promising. As soon as they got that mega majority, Legault popped out of a jack in the box and he said, "Oh, sorry, you believed me? Foolish you. We have no intention of building this thing. There was never any serious plan. There was never any proper work done on it. They just kept stalling it and moving it forward and moving it forward." People in Quebec City went ape over this, and they gave the CAC the worst drubbing you've ever seen a government party get in ages. They just threw all their votes at the Parti Québécois. I know strong federalists in that riding in Quebec City who were voting for the PQ just to give a lesson to Legault. One day later, after that by-election, Legault goes in front of the camera and says, "À bien y penser, I think we better do this third link anyway." But nobody believes anything coming out of the guy's mouth. So then the people around him said, "Let's take a couple of months to decide what we want to do." They sent it to the Caisse de dépôt et placement du Québec. So they sent it to the infrastructure arm of our big pension fund. They came back with the report 2 days ago and said, "Bad idea. This new link with the bridge and the roads and the trucks and all that. You don't need that. What you need is a massive tramway, and we're going to put in $15 billion to help get this thing built." Legault right away, and Geneviève Guilbeault, his transport minister, who's also very influential in the Quebec City area, they said 2 days ago, right after the report, said, "No, we're going to talk to you in 2 days. We've got something else to announce." And today he announced that he's going back, like, what is this, like the third time for the third link? And by the way, his party is supposed to represent the third way. There's numerology involved here. So Legault has decided that he's going back to what he's been promising for 6 years, but he hasn't gotten done at all. He says, no, we're going to build a new road that's going to have trucks on it that will go from the north shore to the south shore. And you know what? I completely agree with them. The greater Quebec City area is 1 million people. It's crucial to the economy of the province, being able to cross over at that point. 10, 12,000 of those, 18-wheelers of massive trucks go across the bridge right now, the Pierre Laporte Bridge, which is the only way for them to go. If that thing goes the way of the Champlain Bridge and has to be replaced, what are you going to do? So they absolutely need another link. Legault was wrong to lie outright to the people of Quebec City, but he's right today to say we absolutely need this. So he's going to come up with the money, probably have more taxes from you and me, Aaron, because there's no other way to pay it. We're $11 billion in the hole after the last budget.
You think it actually gets done?
It has to get done.
Okay.
And the people who were opposed to it on opposition grounds, on philosophical grounds. But you cannot have such a crucial element of the entire provincial economy dependent on a bridge that could be shut overnight. Just a couple of summers ago, the Pierre Laporte Bridge went through a massive overhaul. It was during the summer. Traffic wasn't too bad. But if that came to be 6 months, you're shutting down the economy of a whole chunk of the province. You can't have it.
Okay. Let me move on here, Tom. I'm just trying to look at the topic I wanted to bring up, which is just very, very quickly. I had a chance to speak to Fabrice Lebeau, the deputy provost at McGill yesterday.
Yes, I know him well.
Yeah, after they released this revised, updated, new plan, whatever. Well, it took all of one day. Well, actually, it took 3. He said they presented on a Monday. We found out this morning that the protesters there basically called this laughable. So we're not making any headway here. What has to happen?
Well, I think that McGill's already said that it's going back to the next stage of their injunction request next month. That'll be part of it. I think at some point it does become laughable for the administration to keep talking to people who are illegally occupying their campus as if they have something to give them that they're entitled to. This is a big issue, and it's worth discussing. And I'm glad that McGill has shown a certain amount of forbearance and accepting, the right to protest. These are all important elements in a free and democratic society. But at some point, you have to say, okay, you're not going to tell us what to do. This institution's been around for more than 200 years. We've got a lot of people who work around the world. You're not going to tell us who and what we're allowed to do and who we're allowed to meet and who we're allowed to work with and to do research with. You're not going to dictate that to us, and we won't sign a paper just to get you off our campus that says anything of the kind. And I think that that's the type of line that has to be drawn. Lebeau has been trying to, McGill's had an annus horribilis. It has been an absolutely abysmal year for McGill. And I think there has to be some very serious soul searching in terms of how they manage things. The Faculty of Law is shut down right now because there's a strike of the teachers. Between April and August, the same Fabrice Lebeau, and as I say, I know him, he's a very smart guy, but he's only had one day available to negotiate, which with what would be the first union. They're trying every trick in the book. They're going to the courts. They're doing everything they can to shut this thing down. So far, it hasn't worked, and it won't work. So what's the plan at McGill? What's the vision for McGill? Who are the people who are driving that vision, and what do they plan to do? I'm a graduate of McGill. I got both my law degrees there. I contribute to McGill. I think it's an incredible institution, key for the English-speaking community, going right back to last fall when they got their rear ends handed to them by the CAC government and had no clue who to talk to, what to do, and how to react over the whole question of tuitions. I said, I don't know what's happening, but I've never seen such weak administration at McGill, and it's continuing now.
I'm getting the impression, and yes, I understand about the injunction before the courts. That may take a while, weeks, possibly a month, who knows. I just had this terrible vision, Tom, that these protesters there will just, grow old with McGill. No one's leaving. This will never get resolved, and we'll still be talking about this in a year from now.
No, it's their property. They're going to be able to get the courts to prevail and say, okay, now at this stage, you're not going to get the emergency type of injunction. You're going to get the more permanent type because these are people that are on your property, and we will make a court order saying that they have to leave, and they will have to leave. And if they don't, then the police will say, well, they're in contempt of court, and you can be constrained for that. So okay. I think that cooler heads will prevail, but I think that they also, at some point, you start to believe your own stuff, and you really think that you're going to go and dictate to an institution like McGill who they're going to be able to have research with, who they're going to be able to have commerce with, who they're going to be able to work with in other universities and in other countries in the world. And it's obviously not up to the people who have set their tents down on the lower campus to dictate that to the university.
All right, real quick, got a minute. Valerie Plante, had a chance to talk to her. We're going to replay that interview just after 5:30.
Yes.
What do you make of what's gone on today? It's just, the big story was, we're going to let these people reopen. They've got to put their tents back up, and that's the end of it. It seems like the city, the administration's washing its hands of this, would rather have it go away.
Well, let me start by giving a plug to everybody who should have either the iHeart app or be on lines through CJAD, because it was thanks to an alert that I got, a tune-in alert, that I learned that you were having that interview with Valerie Plante at 3:35, and I got to listen to the whole thing. I have a working hypothesis that the faster Valerie Plante speaks, the more nervous she is about the position she's in. Because she was certainly talking very fast. You could see her hands windmilling, even though it was by radio. And she's got no excuse. And she said she's going to meet. She's already met, and they're going to meet again with the head of the Formula One. And she says it's so important. I don't believe that part. I get the distinct impression that the city of Montreal under Valerie Plante would just as soon be rid of the Formula One race. They know that it's great for the economy. They know it's great for tourism. She doesn't like cars. So you can just imagine why she doesn't like big, noisy cars that burn a lot of gas. And this is the message that we're picking up. When you saw, I don't know if you saw the letter that Formula One sent after the weekend with a long list of absolute mess-ups by the city of Montreal and by the people who were supposed to be taking. It was a gong show. It wasn't just the stuff with those restaurants on Peel that was embarrassing. It was the whole thing that was embarrassing, and that's also on Montreal's doorsteps. And by the way, thank you, Aaron, for continuing to push so that she would just forget about those $17,000 in fines, and she would not give you a clear answer. I think you asked her 5 times, and she refused to answer.
Yeah, we need to, I asked as a question today, is this the end of the story? Want to see this go away, or is this just the beginning? And I think there are way more people saying we need to know more. We need to know why what happened actually happened. And we still
My
don't
biggest
know.
concern is that this type of mess up, which is, I have to say one thing positive about Valerie Plante. She's very good at damage control, but the negative side of that is she causes so much damage, she's become quite good at damage control because she's caused the damage she's trying to control. And when you go through all the list of everything that went wrong, all of the stuff that went wrong on Peel Street, it's an embarrassment. That's the word that was used by the Quebec minister, Madame Proulx, and I couldn't agree with her more. We were embarrassed by the city of Montreal, and I think that there's going to be only one cure for that, and that's next year's election.
Tom, next time we'll talk about the various conspiracy theories that people think as to why this all happened. We'll save that for next time we chat.
It starts with incompetence, but I'd love to hear the rest of the theory.
Oh, there's lots.